Alright, boys and girls, we are live. It's time to do the thing, and the thing is drama. Welcome to the talk show. Spazzy here, aka Syndrams, and with me, currently, we have a Wesker.
Hello.
Oh boy.
Most basic intro.
So, I got back to Disco a day ago, and about two hours later, Ali posted a certain little wall of text in the Discord, and then I promptly left. Oh boy. Disco. Never change, please.
Oh yeah, it was good waking up to the drama. I had gotten the doc the night before actually, and apparently at the time I got it, I thought it was something that was not supposed to be posted around, but literally seconds after I got it, I saw it publicized in about 3 other Discords, and then people started talking about it. A lot of people already knew about it, I guess, or some people, I shouldn't say a lot, because it was just a handful that were talking about it prior. But sure enough, I went to bed, and the next morning, every single Discord was erupted with @everyone's, @here's, and the document was lit up, and then the main Discord,
It's
the announcement
happening!
section just became a big fight between two people, which you can look at.
Oh, so we're looking at the Discovery Freelancer equivalent to the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I mean, I guess this sort of thing happens like every year, but I thought it would actually go a bit more smoothly this year.
But that's the thing. It's never been so bad.
It's always
No, that's the thing. I would like to say that, well, you know, we have this thing happening every once in a while. It's normal, but it's never been this bad. Alright, I guess let's move back a little bit, considering I'm out of the loop anyway. So I just got back after... I stopped playing the game about a year ago now, and I stopped visiting the forums somewhere mid-summer, so you would have to fill me on... Give us a TLDR, what exactly was posted, and let's go from there.
So a document was posted by the developers, core members of the development team, as it said, and it's basically seems like just a massive complaint against Ali. And looking at it, it's also a few other people. I think. Oh, it only mentions Ali, but I was told at the time it was also against some other people, Coral and I guess Sean. And the whole thing was just a bunch of links to images that only, I guess, moderators and developers can view, Discords that only developers and admins can view, and it's a long list of incidents between the development team and the people mentioned in the document, Ali, Coral, and Sean, and then it's pretty much... it seems like just a big document of no confidence against them, and then but the goal, I guess, wasn't to like coup. A lot of people were saying it was to coup the admin team. I don't think that's what they wanted. I think they just wanted to merge the development and admin teams together into one. That's what I got from it, anyways. But there was a long list of things that or images they posted to solidify their case of no trust in Ali.
Do me a favor, please. Open up the YouTube chat and post the links to those things in the chat, if you can.
Got it. There was the link to the document right here. Just paste it in the thing.
See, the funny thing is, I do not personally remember when it actually happened when the two teams just kind of fell out with each other. So...
I've heard rumor, like, okay, I haven't been around as long as a lot of other people, but I've heard there's, like, not something on the scale of merging or, like, trying to boot certain admins out and then merging going down, but, like, friction between the two teams is definitely not something uncommon. I've heard that there's been cases of it before and whatnot, but I guess this is, I mean, it's enough to be a pretty big drama, so obviously it's a bit different, I guess, this time around.
I just actually checked
So,
this
like,
thing myself.
But it's just, yeah, it's a collection of screenshots, logs, and whatnot to build a case against alley by the core members of the development team. People were saying it was just because there's a lot of things. It's going through it right now. I can tell you the two names I see in these logs and in these images is Durandal and Alley. It was not solely done by Durandal, so people were blowing him up about that. It wasn't just him. It was the core members of the dev team. That's not to like blame them or say that they're like evil. It's just it was a group effort pretty much. So it seemed like it was friction between not just one person, but a group of people, and then the individuals listed. Or so it seems.
Oh, Disco, what am I going to do with you? I leave for only a year, and you managed to do stupid shit again. Oh,
actually, I had not, like...
Until now, it didn't seem really public, that's the thing. I mean...
No, yeah, it didn't seem like I mean, whatever was going on was obviously going on behind closed doors pretty well in comparison to some of the other dramas. Like I think last year, or not last year, I don't remember if it was 2016. I think it was 2016. We had that heavy decision thing, but that was something that everybody could kind of like. They didn't clearly see it coming, but they saw that the admins were really like not happy with the people involved, or had it out for those individuals.
Well, so
with the
here's
exception
the thing.
of maybe one or two.
So here's the thing. I'm not going to go in details because Non-Disclosure Act, which even if let's get one thing down. Even if I didn't have any intention to return to Discovery, I would still not, leak things that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. The admin's attitude towards the development team has always been very distrustful because the problem is, if you become an admin, right, you are given the direct keys to destroy the server and destroy the anti-cheat, right? I'm pretty sure you already know that there is a case where someone already has the ability to slowly bypass the fucking thing, but it basically takes one disgruntled member of the admin team to basically kill the whole fucking server, and there's no way around that. So you kind of need to understand that the paranoia that people kind of go through when it comes to applications to the staff in general is problematic, and that's why electing new admins is always a problem. You see many people apply for the modship, and as we already know, mods are basically trainee admins. We kind of evaluate what it takes, how these people act and everything, to figure out, are they stable, are they okay enough to not nuke Disco? It's not even about processing sanctions, or basically, can this person upkeep Disco and not be disgruntled at some point that basically kills the community? Right. So, and this is the point. Merging the dev and admin team would be a no-brainer. It would be a no-brainer. But the problem is that the dev team in their applications were never this specific. They don't have the same, standards. So if the admin team would just look at the dev team and go like, how many of these people could actually be admins, it would be very problematic. So that's sort of the thing. That's the point
they
of view. They
basically just want people that can like keep their cool when shit hits the fan, is what you get.
And the problem is, if there were certain members from the dev team, I'm gonna try to not point fingers, but at this point the server would be already offline, and it would be, some people would try to migrate it to a new server, some people would try to make backups on it and try to do their own thing. It's basically that sort of affair. So at some point, it's always the same thing. Every single time the active administration team always think that, okay, we are not fucking this up, we are the only people who currently are trusted, and they kind of need to figure out who else can come in and help, right? Because the amount of stupid shit you have to do as an admin is just amazingly complex.
I've heard some stories from people, is some pretty mind-boggling. But I mean, it's reality of being in charge of like any community, I guess.
Yeah,
You have to
exactly.
deal with
You
people
have
that
to
come
deal
in
with
and
the
are just ridiculous.
backstage, and the backstage is just littered with petty insults, a lot of
The
drama.
backstage, but I think it really gets serious when you get people who are experienced like players in the community, and then they just continue to act like somebody who's fresh off the boat. That kind of idiocy, I guess, and that carries over, and it becomes even more of a pain in the ass to deal with.
So yeah, needless to say, if you are one of the current active admins, adding new people to server access in general is always a sketchy thing. And so every single time the idea has been cropped up that the development team becomes a part of the administration team, in theory it would be the best thing ever because, well, you know, you have direct share between the two things, but it's just not possible with the requirements for one and the other.
One and the other, right?
Especially the problem here is that this is basically what we thought at the time, or at least, you know, when I was still an admin. At some point, Disco was so very starved of content creators when it comes to effects, when it comes to models, story, whatever. They just started to trainee and recruit anyone who wanted to work on it. Right. So there was no quality control. Right. And when it comes to any sort of access, the first thing you look at are cliques.
Right.
And which side of the side of the
community are they on? Right? Are they neutral between everybody? Or are they not? Yeah.
And it has nothing to do. And the thing is, most people think that people would be more lenient against voting against their friends or something stupid like that, right? But no, it's just how much, in terms of actual power and the feeling of power it is. So basically, anyone who is against, if that's a clique that doesn't like to be, it's a clique opposed to the other, then them having any sort of team power, staff power, instantly it's just a mental attack. Like, technically nothing is going on, but it just makes everyone else feel bad. So we kind of try to do the, neutral sort of thing, but yeah, obviously that's not going to happen.
Because people can just speculate regardless of the person's actual intentions, even if they're part of a clique.
Oh,
yeah,
I fucking hate that. Speculation. Speculation was terrible.
That is the reason I would never, there are many reasons I would never apply to be a moderator, but that is definitely one of them.
Christ. I actually have one very specific thing. It actually has to do with Justin in particular.
Oh, God.
No. It's not as bad as it sounds. What I'm actually going to say is that I can fully sympathize with Justin, but specifically because one thing. So, me and Justin are very alike in one very specific thing. When we get motivated, there is so much we can do. We want to do everything. We want to do everything right, etc., etc. So this was basically my, highlight as an admin, because I tried to do everything. I was basically going all the steps above to be, a Uber St. Dennis, if you want to kind of compare it that way. Basically do everything, like vote on everything, put in everything. It's like change this, change that, listen to this, do that, run events parallel and everything else. But see, here's the thing: when you have the ability to put every single moment of your free time, time you would actually go into the game to play Disco.
Yeah.
If you have the self-discipline to put all of that free time into your, quote, job, because, again, you're applying for a job when it comes to staff, it's so easy. It's so fucking easy to start viewing anyone else who's not ready for that sort of dedication as liabilities, or people who are just lazy, or people who don't do their job, or don't take it seriously. And so, from the perspective of someone as motivated and driven as Justin, that's basically how the admins look. He has this moment, he has this spurt of the moment where he wants to do everything. Oh, he wants to put that in, he wants to do this and does everything. And if by any chance he sees that someone else is hesitating, or, they don't seem interested, well, you applied for this position to do exactly that. Like, I'm doing my job, why aren't you doing your job? It was the same thing that happened during the end of the year when I became an admin, where I basically was single voting on everything, because people were busy, and they just didn't have the time and effort to actually put, you know, things into a video game. So, I see what can happen in that case. So,
Right.
yeah. Anyway, story.
Oh man, here's the good topic.
Oh, what happened?
Story. The thing everybody wants to nerd out about is like I've considered making my own streams for this. I don't know. I mean, it depends on who you like. Story stuff. It's all subjective to who you ask. Even that's not exclusive to developers, anyways. Developers, it also matters.
It's just like you're reading a book. Like only the author knows how it ends, but everyone likes to think it's like, how would I write it?
The thing is that the author changes. It's never the same person. When Tyrion was in charge of everything, pretty much, things were obviously at a much slower pace, and they were like looked at differently. Different things apply to different scenarios in story development, like, you know, how you got a base here, how you got a base there. You know, what is your like force power number count here versus there, and it depends on who you talk to. Even now, people will still, it's just conflict among everybody. But the thing is that nobody wants to actually settle the score and post down like, this is how much you have, this determines how you can move here, and this, like, nobody wants to set out the rules for the game of Risk that is story development, because that is what story, like when you lead a faction that is, you know, that has power or whatnot and opposes another faction,
you know, that's
like, I'm just gonna, the outcasts and corsairs, like everybody wants to know how many numbers or what's the force of one against the other, but there's no clear like definition of how much power beyond like what you hear from the developers every now and then, and they don't want to put it into clear context because they think that that's just going to enable people ego boasting or dick waving, you name it. So it's kind of just like it's really not concrete, and it goes either which way.
Oh man, I could tell you stories about that. Like, one of the ideas when it came to official factions back in the day was that we were about to vote whether or not the factions would need to sign sort of like, you know, terms of use sort of thing, that they accept that sometimes they're going to win and sometimes they're going to lose, and they're not allowed to bitch because it is still a story-driven game. And I'm kind of sad because that is basically how the whole situation escalated. Back in the day, I'm talking about like 2008, 2009, 10, right? Back in those days, it was pretty clear that the factions did very little to influence the actual story. It was a lot more relaxed because you could do your own thing, you could do your own roleplay in general, and you weren't focused on a specific goal, if that makes any sense. You're
right.
Like 2020, well, not 2020. It's basically like this. These days, all of the roleplay that I see, especially on the forums, is purpose-built for some sort of thing, and it's usually something related to the story when it comes to the official factions. And then when something doesn't happen, or something gets taken away, then obviously it feels like a wasted effort. It's just wasted time. But I don't know. See, the problem is, I actually want your opinion on this. Let's say, for the sake of example, we're talking about a community which is purely player-driven when it comes to the story, right?
Right.
I don't think that's a good idea, because when you're building your own story as a builder, well, you know how the story ends, even if you have to compete with it with other players.
Right.
The alternative goes against every single notion of a community-driven roleplay server, but it might actually be more technically interesting. Like, there is a person who gives a random section of events. Some events happen, like, by events I actually mean story happenings that happen over time. And basically without any set goal or outcome. And they basically say to the people who are involved in that area, this is what happens. How you do it is up to, how you interpret it and how you use it to your advantage is completely up to you.
So in a way that's kind of similar to what's going on. I did make a big dramatic post a little while back about the Omega 49 situation and how it was actually, but this was a bit different in the sense that the players on one side thought they were being held at gunpoint, literally losing their entire faction and in turn losing a big part of the storyline, which was their war against Gallia. This is the BAF players I'm talking about here. Yeah. And what they were told is basically, you're going to be doing this, do with it as you will. And so they were pretty much forced to do it. There was no alternative. I was told about how the leader thought they were being held at gunpoint. He thought they were not actually being held at gunpoint. Let's get this out of the air, because some people thought that they were literally being held at gunpoint. That wasn't the case. He thought they were. He was skeptical. He was afraid because it had happened to factions in the past, but that was under a different story development team, not the current one. So I should have confronted the devs right then and there about it and been like, this is why they're doing this. This probably, because none of them wanted to do it. But as it went on, they just accepted it and they sort of did what you said there. Like, you know, how it turns out to be is up to you. And they sort of made their own thing out of it. And it was kind of...
It's too late for that sort of approach. We have been like bred, like new players have arrived during the time where the official factions were given more and more power over the story, and they were approached like this is something unheard of, like from my old days, like that a dev would approach you and ask your input on the storyline of your ID. That was just like just
so in 2016 I would have been like, I hate dev arbitration. Give me complete and total access over how the storyline goes, because I was leading a faction that could essentially, I still am leading a faction that can, or would have, and maybe still can, essentially crush all its allies and completely flip the story all around. But obviously, for the sake of everybody, that's not going to happen and whatnot.
Okay,
I still think that there should be a pretty good amount of player-driven aspect of it, but like, there needs to be, I think that the story devs should be like moderators for the story, not much like complete, they should moderate what happens so it's not too skewed in one direction or whatnot. Because obviously, if you put it completely in the hands of the players, like you said, it's just going to turn into a complete shit show. Everything's going to go south. People are going to quit. All that good stuff that you don't want.
Nerva just asked in the chat, "What do these things happen only to zoners?"
No, they do not.
I think it's more. I realize it's more of a meme right now. But I think it was just the fact that there were no other third parties involved in the whole thing next to BAF in general. They just had to figure out something for something to happen. Was this the best choice? No, I don't think so. Wesker, by the way, we mentioned how the whole thing is kind of like reading a book, and so you kind of imagine how things could turn out until you read it. You don't know. I'm curious, how would you say the whole storyline of Gallia versus Sirius will end, in your opinion? How would you imagine it? Yeah, how would you like it?
So the way I would imagine it right now, realistically, okay, so we have to look back at one thing here, and that is the fact that Liberty has never lost a single conflict in all of their time in Discovery at all. The most they've lost is a border station at the edge of California, and that's pretty much insignificant in comparison to all the times they've held out and won against everything. So realistically, I think that Liberty might come in and sweep and win the defense, but the other thing I think that should realistically happen is based on Gallia's like obvious display of strength in New London, is that New London will completely fall, and I think that's probably how it should happen. And I think at that point it will be so spread out amongst that front. I think the fault and the loss for Gallia, which should and will eventually happen, probably like the loss.
They wrote it. They said this is the highlight of the Gallic incursion.
The loss of the monarchy, or the defeat of the monarchy, shouldn't come from the front where they're at their strongest. It should come from where they're weakest, and that's back home, the council. Somebody mentioned it there.
I'm going to actually talk about that. My version is a little bit just like that, by the way. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think that the council should pretty much. And so there was a very interesting take on the council I heard of a little while back. It wasn't actually from the leader. It was from somebody else. And they said that the council more or less just wants the monarchy gone. They're not necessarily completely 150% opposed to
Gallia's intervention in the other houses. So it'd be interesting to see if the council wins, the monarchy gets overthrown, and it's actually replaced with a completely different system for Gallia. But that system also continues to fight on, because if the council just merged with the current royalist forces, it would be very, very interesting to see how the ending would actually go down, because then obviously Bretonnia would be wiped off the face of the earth, and it would be down to Liberty, who we haven't seen lose at all. So
I'm gonna quickly intervene. I think Will and Thurzel both have a point in that Liberty does have a certain sense of plot armor, simply because that's where all the new players are used to starting off, and so we kind of need to think about it in that. It's not necessarily that, no, but you know, it's still kind of, people do want to see Liberty unmolested, because that's when you pick up Freelancer, like the old Freelancer, it's like when you pick up Freelancer, you're not going to, you're not going to play through it all. You're not going to go like 100% it again. You're going to do the first few missions, fly around Liberty, and I think that is keeping it unchanged for the new player. It's kind of mechanically hooking into the nostalgia factor of it. But yeah.
I think it's a necessary evil at some, I don't think, changes to the core systems like New York, Texas, Colorado and New York, the first two systems you go to in the storyline, probably. But I think that there should be some more incursion in some other ports. Like, there are some outskirt systems that Liberty owns, like Alberta and Ontario. Like, come on.
Okay,
those are left untouched.
So here's my perspective on the whole Gallia thing, and it has to do only with my headcanon. I don't know half of the lore behind fucking Council or anything else, but what I would really like to see is that being what kind of monarchy is it? Like, complete constitutional, or is it an actual...
It's absolute. I think it's absolute, because it's the king, nobility, and then it goes down from there.
Okay, so here's the thing. I want to see basically the drama of a... I forgot the meme from CK2. It was like, it was one of the inheritance laws. Can you remind me, maybe? Gavelkind. Gavelkind. Fuck Gavelkind. Basically, fuck Gavelkind the game. Essentially, I want to see Gallia fall, not military speaking, but I want to see Gallia fall to a inner drama that has to do with the fall of the current king, be it assassination or something else, and the battle between the pretenders. I want to see different pretenders approach in secrecy to different currently neutral houses, like the Outcasts, like the Libertonians, the Rhinelanders, the Kusarians, and I want to picture a series that is slowly on the decline when it comes to resources, like, overall resources. And it's kind of obvious that the current tensions overall are just begging for a small dispute to just set the whole mousetrap game going, right? I want to see basically these people promise the direct support of their Gallic military if they help them get on the throne. And I want to see Syria's just turning onto itself without even realizing it. Like some sort of sneaky activities involving the intelligence factions, because the intelligence factions need something to do, right? And something that starts off as sneaky just to, give these people an edge, just go into full war between the houses, which could potentially provide something interesting, but...
So about activity, is that the word you're looking for there?
No. It's not activity, because in the end...
roleplay in that regard.
Roleplay potential. See, that's the thing. It's like in my previous video, I said how devs are basically giving everyone a handful of Lego parts that they can tack on their own car, right? If that is the way you want to go, because I really doubt that's going to change. At least provide the handful of items that you give much larger, and just pull it on into one pile. Because right now the problem is the devs seem to be giving each and every individual faction their own little pile of things they can do.
Pile of things they can do, right.
But it needs to be something major. It needs to be something global enough where it would it would be actually global enough where people would stop trying to use freelancer IDs for their factions because they just don't get their necessary roleplay material, usable material. We're not talking about roleplay in general, but just the things they can use for roleplay in their given area. We've seen so many new factions just pop up around the freelancer ID because they could just move around. It's like, oh, something's interesting now happening in Britonia. Let's fly there. So, yeah, basically that.
That polarity is something that some other people want, though, that are in power. So that's probably why you'd hit a brick wall there. That sort of like I agree with you. There should be less like people jumping on freelancer IDs and whatnot. But I mean, the alternative is what they jump on, like a Corsair ID or an Outcast ID, because they can go everywhere, do everything pretty much. Because those two IDs are like the alternatives because they encompass.
In terms of zone of influence, sure, but we're talking about roleplay influence,
roleplay potential. But even then, you can sort of just bend. There's been no shortage of factions that start up and then just decide what factions they want to bend over to and what factions they want to oppose. We had a Corsair faction that popped up recently that opposed the Corsairs and liked other factions. We have Outcast factions that bend over to the Nomads and other ones that are just like extremists that oppose everybody. Like, that's sort of how you do it. And then the other thing is that other people's willingness to accept that roleplay as like legit. So there's, it's one thing to go ahead and say like, I'm a Corsair that hates Corsairs.
The funny thing is,
but it's another thing for them to say that like, okay, we like you.
This is actually where our own mechanics are starting to encroach on our creativity, because one of the problems from a mechanical standpoint, and I know this is a very stupid thing to say considering there's no alternative, so why bother to talk about it, but if we had some sort of alternative to IDs, then a Outcast going against Outcast ideals would make more sense. But the first knee-jerk reaction is, well, you can't shoot other Outcasts as an Outcast ID.
But that's where you also hit a brick wall, because it doesn't say clearly that you can't shoot another Outcast. The thing about an ID,
well, it's covered. It's covered by the rule that says
it's interpretation at that part. Yeah, because I guess there's like some sort of unspoken or interpreted rule that you can't shoot things that are green to you, which is funny because it's slapped some other people in the face. Like, I think Outcast players got in trouble with it, and Corsair ones as well. I think the APS got in trouble with it at some point. I'm not sure.
The problem is, it makes sense for some factions. I was pushing for that on rogues when I used to lead them. It's like, I wanted to see rogues cannibalize each other, because it is a cannibalistic bunch of assholes. I wanted to be perfectly clear that any rogue ID can shoot another rogue ID. I wanted that.
As much as they are militaristic and whatnot and revolutionary, the army has always been portrayed as like the evil, like a very big villain in the Discovery Freelancer like storyline, and I've held no exceptions in game. There have been times where we have literally gunned down entire groups of Hessian Indies that don't follow our commands and whatnot, that pirate people we don't want to pirate and whatnot. And I've gotten away with it every single time. They were green to us, and we shot them on our ID, and nobody had a problem with it.
And I'm just currently watching this and just writing it down.
Probably just writing it down. Yeah, like, I mean, if they want to search like 3 years back for the evidence.
Fucking killing himself right here.
But like, but why not though? Like, I've brought up this topic before, and they've like reached like.
I kind of wonder if the whole reaction to the BAF attacking zoners wasn't just a knee-jerk meme reaction just to the fact that it is zoners that are getting involved. I mean, the first thing I facepalmed when I saw that. Like, it's like, what are you smoking? Because you're already losing a war. How the fuck can you open up another front? But desperation?
Some other things that I made in my post.
Desperation? Desperation makes a lot of sense, so the more I think about it, the more...
But the other things you have to consider are the actual info card of the planet. The planet's in an ice age, and it's going to keep entering an ice age until it's completely frozen. The population of zoners on that planet right now is at like an all-time low because of the planet's like ecosystem and whatnot. It's just a giant...
Is it...
Question mark?
Okay, first of all, we have a faction that is dedicated to terraforming. How are they not opposing that? So, I mean, there's... okay, these are plot holes, obviously. Like, we have so many ways to add new planets, add hospitable planets, that we basically killed any sort of roleplay centering around the death of a planet. Because, hey, it can be reversed by planets
Or the
off!
fact that any planet is not capable to be lived on, like Jovian planets could be lived on and whatnot. Like gas giants and shit could probably be habitable if you just threw
I'm kind of wishing that it can be added to info cards that basically kind of in brackets like, oh, this is common in roleplay knowledge. That that it's entering a fucking ice age and everything.
Yeah. But like
But again, like I can see every single time something like this is added, I have to ask myself, if I needed to work with this material for, lawful roleplay, unlawful roleplay, gray roleplay, how would I use this? Even with the whole Zoner Bath incident, I can still see ways to use this. So again, is this such a big thing?
I thought that this exact thing that's happening now would happen in a different system, not gonna lie. But I guess I decided to go through with this system instead, 49 instead. I thought this would all unfold in 5. I thought it would be much more dramatic if it unfolded in 5.
Oh, we have Justin in the chat.
Yeah. No, it is not, and that is false. Is that in reference to the Ice Age thing? Because it said in the info card that it's like dying.
No, I think he's in... I haven't been actually following this fucking chat. I have it so that it alerts me to add mentions at my name, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
People are having their own discussion right now. Hey guys, hey chat, if you want us to cover a particular topic, please let us know, because we were supposed to make a few bullet points, and then we didn't.
I'm being told it was the GC Ice Age. Apparently it's not uninhabitable. Question mark, but whatever. I mean, even if it isn't inhabitable, you still have the other questions that you put out, but I guess, like, the Bretonnians would overwhelm the zoners that can't fight for themselves. But this goes back and forth again, because we've seen incidents where zoners get, like, nuked out of the sky, and then they just come back with, like, ridiculous amounts of things. Like, what happened? Freeport 11 got nemped, and then they had, like, what, 3 carriers just sitting around the thing guarding.
It's, again, it's... the problem with those things is that there's 2 balances. One is in roleplay balance. We seem to be fucking playing 2 completely different games. We're playing a game that is mechanically fun to play and roleplay fun to play. So I want to get on my big fucking zoner juggernaut and fucking shoot nomads. But in reality, as per the info cards, there's maybe like 5 ships of these kinds in the game. So unless we actually just buckle the fuck down and figure out how to adapt the current roleplay environment to actually meet the numbers of our players and the existing, gear that is in the game.
Ooh, somebody asked a good question in the chat.
I've
been waiting for this question.
Who?
Trax had asked a question in the chat.
Where?
He said, in your opinion, what would definitely revive Disco or save it from damnation? So it's going to keep, like, well, I'm not going to say it keeps getting less and less, because we've seen parts where it spikes up and then times where it's hit lows. But I was going to mention this in regards to Spazzy's thing earlier, because they said, like, would his idea be good for gameplay? And he said no, it'd be more of like a roleplay thingamajig. But for gameplay, I think that House Wars are actually literally wearing out. I think that the only thing that's working right now is the Gallic and Bretonnian War, because it's been the center of the Disco storyline since Gallia was implemented. I mean, like, you join it, let's be real, the first thing you see is Gallia is red, I fly LNS, kill them. Or if you're somebody who likes Gallia, you see, like, LNS are all noobs and idiots, let's kill them. Definitively, but not definitely.
Yeah, but it can't be one war.
So
that's
in terms of revive,
maybe
I think
people don't want to play Gallia and people don't want to play Liberty. They want to have that chance of conflict and actually enjoy the PvP part of the game anywhere on their favorite factions.
But hear me out here. So I've said this to some people before, but I think the future of, like, actual big conflicts in this server is actually between the unlawfuls of houses and their house opponents. We have many factions that are like these revolutionary go-to factions for some people that they like to fly, like RHA, BD, HF, go into Gallia Council. What's the other house I'm forgetting about? Liberty. No, I didn't forget about Liberty. I think that pretty much covered them all. No, Bretonnia. Bretonnia, you have, like, what, the Mollies, you have Gaians and whatnot. But, like, what makes conflicts so big is when the player bases are separated not just by are invested by separate cliques.
Yeah.
And you have this big time in, I'm going to use the example as the RHA RM cliques. They're two totally separate groups of players. Like
there's a bit of that out of roleplay animicity.
Yeah, that out of roleplay animicity fuels huge amounts of conflict. There have been times where RHA has marched in with like a few fighters, bombers, and whatnot, and we've had like an opposing force of like 7 Bismarcks and like a bunch of other shit though.
You know, I'm very sad to say that I actually railed against the sort of attitude back in the day, because back in the day we had situations. Okay, I don't know when did you come around?
I came around in like 2013. No.
Okay, so in 0908, the Outcast/Corsair population was huge. Like, we're talking about huge amounts of people. We're talking about 50-50 people in both Alpha and Gamma at any time. Dude, if you even mentioned in a group chat that you had an Alt Corsair, you would get fucking punted.
You get punted out, yep.
Yeah, and this fueled such huge fucking epic battles, which obviously the server couldn't take, but, you know, it was the thought that counts.
But if you think about it, though, if we look
But that was toxic as fuck.
I'm not certain. It's not always toxic, though. Like, the players are separate. That doesn't necessarily mean they always hate each other.
There's no switch. You can't control the amount... you know, it was like... You know, some amount of toxicity is like... There's no way you can control that. There's no way you can control that. That's the problem. Okay, Nerva just asked, could we ever have something else that will replace Nomads as the final boss?
I think the idea of another alien race or something
it has to be...
People have just shunned it out the door instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, the other alternative is that we could bring back the Phantoms. You
know,
have all the aces
actually,
join
fuck
the
it.
Phantoms. Smiley facing over here as I fly in my Raven's Claw with like 8 guns forward and shit.
Fun fact, my rogue character almost did the cyber with the Phantom, but okay. So here's the thing. I would actually like to see the Gamu AI to be given a kind of pseudo-terrorist sort of approach, because AI... This is a bit of a pet peeve, if you allow me to indulge this into just a moment. When people say about, oh, AI roleplay, I don't immediately think human AI. I mean artificial intelligence that is basically animalistic in its behavior, that it needs to, 1, survive, 2, reproduce, and acquire territory. I want to see a Terminator-esque thing, but the problem
like Ultron,
is...
basically.
Yeah, but the problem is... No, not even like Ultron, basically just AI that has escaped, has settled down, and is just, you know, surviving and just expanding. But the problem is, the problem is that the subject matter is enriched in Cult Classic, and in this case that would be the Terminator. If you even suggested that sort of outcome, everyone would just go like, oh yeah, like the Terminator, but we don't like imports. And it's just that knee-jerk reaction. Yes, like the Harvesters, like they were back in the day. And I would like to see that as a alternative to the Nomads. The Nomads can, you know, be this sort of closed thing, but I think the problem with the Nomads is that...
I am of the opinion that they should not be playable, but that is my opinion.
Nomads should be playable, but they should be playable by very, very specific people. Very few specific people. Because the bar is so fucking
another thing that people are
high.
probably going to bash me in for is I like the time where you didn't have to say anything before you shot somebody as a Nomad. I know that's probably unhealthy for some people, like gameplay-wise, but I mean, that's... People date back, like, all this stuff for Nomads is happening where they're like, I don't want to say it's bad.
Small reminder, I got that fucking ID nerfed. I got that fucking role reversed because I was just shitting on people. No, dude.
Cloaking on people with Villanova Nomad bombers while they were role-playing outside the Freeport insta-killing them.
I was just hunting down traitors in my Nomad cruiser. But yeah.
But I mean, like, that's what it was. They didn't say anything before they shot you. They just shot you. Like,
yeah, that's... Well, I mean, that's the same for every single... It's not
that's
a...
sort of
That's not... That particular excuse is not a good excuse. It's just that it's an alien that wants you dead. That is the actual excuse.
If you took that aspect and mixed it with your proposal of how it's narrowed down to a very small amount of people, it might mix and work to an extent.
because it sort of adds like that dangerous feeling to when you're flying in the edge worlds where it should be. Like,
but people don't want danger.
I think
they don't want to be danger. They want to. Okay, people don't know what they want. People want edge worlds to be dangerous, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they want to stop their ship and roleplay with someone they encountered along the way and not get wiped out by the NPCs.
I don't know what the hell the medium is there. Like, to me, it's just silly when I see like a Corsair empty transport walks on by and like Omega 5 or Omega 47 when I'm flying my Hessian. I have to stop them and be like, hey, pay me or die. Like, what? No, I'm at war with you. I'm going to kill you. Like, I see a transport coming through here. I'm just going to blow them up, but I can't do that by my ID or whatnot. If I go to stop somebody who's like trespassing and something I establish is like Omega 54 is something I've established for the Hessian players. It's like, if somebody is there that we do not...
People are saying that this is not the recent drama. Get back on topic. Give us a topic, because we kind of ran out of the main points, so... You were saying?
Oh, but no, like, that's the policy. If they fly through there, like, they die or whatnot. But the ID and whatnot and other people's attitudes towards that sort of conflict with that and make it so that if we do something like that, we're really the bad guys, not just NRPly, but ORPly.
Let me quickly add something about the actual topic, about the drama between the dev and the admin team. People are currently very kind of concerned that this might put the server stability in danger. It's not, because the server is automated. You don't really need anything. Or that it's going to be basically the devs not adding any more things or processing active roleplay requests. I need to just remind people that the amount of roleplay potential you currently have in the game with all of the info cards, you can take any info card from the game and figure out a roleplay topic around it. There's so many building blocks you already have and have yet to use, that even if the dev team suddenly vanished and no new roleplay updates in terms of dev updates were suddenly in, it doesn't stop your roleplay. You just need to figure out how to use it. Because basically saying devs, oh, I need this thing, or I would really like to have this thing, is such a defeatist attitude that's not even funny anymore. Or people applying for SRP IDs just because they want to be special. SRP IDs were meant to be used because you physically couldn't do the roleplay on an existing ID, but that's not the case. That's not the case anymore.
Nope, you're right. I've never used an SRP ID in all the SRPs I've requested. Never. I've used the faction-based IDs.
I only had one fucking SRP ID, and it was for a non-infected human that had to land on nomad bases. And sorry, there was no way to actually do that mechanically, so that's why I got it. Okay, Nerva is asking, should we have guard systems brought back for the peeps who want to roleplay in space? There's so many empty systems considering the server population. I really doubt that it's a...
I'm not opposed to like some edge systems there for pure aesthetics, but they shouldn't be an inconvenience for like... Because you have to think about this from two perspectives here. Like, the first thing that people will jump the gun on and go straight to is piracy, traders, piracy on like the pirate versus the trader. And if you add buffer systems and other systems that are along trade routes that are there for aesthetic purposes, they're going to be used for purposes that aren't like viewing. They're just going to be used as getaway systems or whatnot, and it's going to ruin piracy for some people. And that's the problem with adding extra systems. But if you add some systems that like the edge of the edge worlds or whatnot that connect to nothing, like systems that are dead end systems,
there was actually talk that we could use a randomized generator to just put together random systems just for the sake of exploring. But people were saying, well, what's the point? Because that was too much, effort for the sake of
necessarily
fluff.
Mind it, as long as, like I said, it doesn't impact.
That's the thing. We need fluff. That's the whole thing that I'm railing about. Like, everything that we have been adding until now is basically just for the dedicated roleplays. Like, okay, these guys did this and they need to have this. These guys did this and they need to have this. Please add something that is not dedicated to...
Are you talking just like for them to roleplay in, or something that they roleplay for like a separate...
right now we have the situation where every single roleplay that you do is basically forwarded to the dev team, and they basically ask, okay, hey guys, we did this, can we have this? Like, can you forward this so we can continue ongoing roleplay? But that's not how it works, motherfucker. yes, you can have like this should be a thing. Obviously, you should roleplay and have some sort of leeway. But to think that your roleplay is going to always result or should result in some sort of mod-changing activity, such as bases being added or bases being removed, that's not. Because in that case, you're... Okay, so no one likes to lose their shit. Everyone likes... No one likes to do that. If you're doing that, then you're specifically going against someone else's toys. And that shouldn't happen.
And if that happens...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw. Is the Order faction active anymore? Just got back to Disc after a few years back from I remember running with them was hella fun.
They recently lost some people and they're actually looking for some recruits, so if you go ahead and apply or try to rejoin, they'll probably want you back in.
Is the Order faction active? I don't know, is Tenacity active?
They were
it's like, oh, are the Order active? I don't know, is 10 active?
But no, the Order they were actually fairly active. They got some people that were very motivated, but a lot of those people actually left recently. Actually today, I was being talked to by Gallia, and he said, like, we lost a bunch of people and whatnot. Like, have any ideas on who would be willing to fly? And people have a lot of friction with different Order factions.
Oh yeah, because they're usually centered around key figures that have their own own personal interpretation of the Order lore, because it's so fucking sparse. There's many ways you can do them, right? And the moment you try something that is not, established community accepted kind of interpretation, then it just goes shit-tastic. Okay, I'm going to quickly take this chance to fucking apologize for what I did as an admin when it came to the events, because right now, someone is asking, alright then, have dead-end guard systems, and my first reaction as a player would be, okay, are the admins going to add some science data or, lost stations in them? Because right now, unless you have that motivation, people are just not attending events as far as I understand. And I'm fucking sorry, I did not think that, I know that this is conditioning, but I really didn't think, well, first of all, I didn't think that once I left, they would fucking assign scientific data to actual guns that you have to buy for scientific data. That's fucking retarded. How could you do this?
And you know what's even more sad, and maybe I should talk about this now, is that a lot of those psi data guns are not worth the money or psi data. And I'm going ahead and maybe I should just say it now. You guys, if you're wasting your money, and I'm pointing specifically at the snub psi data guns, everything aside from the TDGs is not worth your money or your psi data. Do not buy it. People will say acrobatics are okay. No. They are okay. But it's kind of subjective, and I personally think that they aren't worth that much money.
By the way, I'm responding to Nen, who just said science data was a mistake. My implementation of the fucking thing was a mistake. Do you know what science data was supposed to be? It was supposed to be just a regular commodity, just like, crew or something like that. Something that explorer characters could use or could obtain. That was the initial thing, and then I decided, you know what, I have more time than I possibly need. If someone wants to research and buy, say, some contrails, I can add them. It's not like I have anything else to do, so I added that. So that's how the whole scientific data reward system actually started to be, and once I left it, that just went down the fucking toilet.
Fireballs they're
so
fun LF
sad.
toys, but I don't think if you're investing in it for the sake of just having fun and you have the spare money, go for it. If you are investing in it because you literally think that they are better than every other light fighter gun, you're wrong. That, from my opinion, I'd say you're wrong. The most powerful arsenal for anybody who is looking to get into snub PvP is right available to you in Connecticut. Heavy flashpoints, advanced flashpoints, and PGCs and debilitators are the most powerful and the most basic guns are literally the most powerful ones.
I'm just very sad that scientific data ended up being basically like a shit version of a premium currency these days.
I've been storing it up to get cap guns. I've joined. I told myself for the longest time I would try to avoid it, but now I really want some of those. Apparently there's like battleship shotguns now. They're like volleys or whatever, and I really want to get those. Those look nice. I want to get them for aesthetics because I have the time and I may as well.
Aesthetic.
aesthetic, yeah.
Yeah. Thursday was asking, Wesker responded to turn-in point story thread when?
Oh yeah, I know. There's a lot of stuff I need to respond. There's something I was gonna start actually today.
Yeah,
but
see, here's the thing. The Manticore fucking beam cannons were supposed to be the only fucking thing I was going to add for the scientific data in terms of equipment, because it was just basically a magma hammer with a cool effect. You couldn't fucking aim the thing, because it was a magma hammer, it had the projectile invisible, and the only thing that was special about it was the flash effect, you know, the actual muzzle flash. That was the whole, you know, cultist beam laser thing. Oh, by the way, the cultists were supposed to be kind of the ants.
Wesker bought were siege guns for RHA, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
10 of them. I might buy another 10.
Yeah. So here's the fact. When I did the concept of the cultists, I really wanted to provide the concept of a alternative baddie for players to hate on that actually made sense, instead of, oh, there was actually another house just sitting right under your noses, and they have a fleet that's bigger than yours. It didn't work.
Yeah.
But hey, at least I had the balls to fucking nuke them.
Yeah.
Unless they never... Can you tell me...
They have brought them back on occasion. There was actually one incident in Omicron Lost where they were literally looking for I was one of the players they were looking for to fly cultist ships, literally, with those beam cannons. Only they had unlimited ammo. Yep.
Y'all fucking use player ships as cultists! You're fucking antagonizing yourselves like that.
Oh, there were like 6 of us too, dude.
The fucking dude, this is such a bad idea. Okay, no. I know. I mean, I started doing it. I stopped doing it because it's easy to say, "Oh, those fucking stupid NPCs." They're NPCs. You can go to them. You know how NPCs react. There's a game mechanic that allows you to avoid them, right? Because if you know how NPCs work, you can avoid them. You can't avoid players, so when a player kills you, then it fucking feels bad.
Yeah.
And instead, but people do come to those events because they want the scientific data, so they're basically getting niggered, and not enjoy. There's no character play. They're just getting fucking fucked in the face. They're getting fucked so hard, fucking sonic rings come flying out. Just for the chance to get those fucking, that fucking scientific data. Do not use players as... Oh, actually, I don't give a shit. Just do what you want. Like, I'm already sad that I fucking dropped the ball on the whole cultist thing. Yeah. They were meant to be so much more, and I didn't have the time.
Oh, yeah. But no, that was the one incident. There was another incident in Stuttgart where they brought in a bunch of cultists and the RHA rolled up and killed all of the RM players and then took what side data we could get. Pretty much. But they were also using players there as well. But there have been a few times where they have used players. The most notable was in Omicron Lost where they took in like 7 players, threw them all in cultist ships and said, kill all these people coming at us.
You know, funny thing, remember when this... were you there for Garrett's Thor?
I think so.
So there was a idea, which I never brought for... oh, no, I lie. Actually, I did. The only problem was I offered that idea back when our whole admin team was killed, so there was actually no one voting on it. But yeah, I suggested that every single month, we allow 5 slots for players to come in. They have to put in a ship. That ship would be made in the way that if it dies, it goes to Bastille, and it would get a terrorist ID. They could attack anyone they want, as long as they're not under level, but they lose the ship upon death. So, you could get a battleship with a fucking, terrorist ID, but you would lose the battleship if you died. And you would have, like, 5 slots per month. Just like a lottery. It's like, hey, you can be... Like, feel free to try to be the most infamous terrorist on the server.
The first thing that's coming to my mind right now is the entire Legion Maltesa faction, which currently consists of about 5 active people applying for terrorist IDs, flying around nuking everything that ever was and ever will be opposing Malta, which is pretty much every single faction, so...
XD. Hey guys, just remember use the @ function to offer topics.
It's not
which by
I see this guy saying there was a lolfest at Wesker's Nerva, but it was just Spazzy getting mad at the player aspect of cultists. There should never have been cultist players.
Eh.
Going over that. Cow ate Nephilims with terrorist IDs. Jesus Christ.
Dude, we're gonna neutrality you so much you're gonna fucking reincarnate as a fucking miscarriage.
Zoners. Now it's just people like giving their
oh, by
IDs
the way,
out.
ghost ships. You know, the fucking premise sounded stupid as fuck until I figured out that, hey, a ship can also be an AI.
The idea of ghost ships would be kind of cool, but
if they were AI and not actual ghosts, because Jesus
they would
Christ.
have to be in very like. I think that if you made like these systems, like you have to make a system with all the aspects of something that would literally scare somebody to enter. So like a completely black nebula with like lightning going off and like mines maybe at places, or like creepy looking asteroids, and then you put a ghost ship in the thing, and it was a one-way system or something like that. Putting up there was some event while it was back in 2016. It was actually while I was banned for 3 weeks.
Which ban is that? Remind me.
That's
There's
the
quite
one
a few of them.
before we sieged Rootlingen with all the Jorms. That was a 3-week one, and right as that was happening, there was some sort of event in some admin-made system. It was like a complete giant nebula, and there was some kind of giant nomad artifact, and it was nomads versus players or something fancy like that. It was pretty cool, but more stuff like that would kind of be interesting. Allie did something similar where she made like some new nomad system and brought everybody out, but that was more PvE. It wasn't like a PvP thing. Freeports with platforms.
Freeports stacked together in a Freeport battleship. Battleport 7.
But yeah, about side data, just don't waste your money coming from somebody who flies snubs. Don't waste your money on the snub guns unless they're the TDGs. The TDGs are alright. They're better if you mix like one with a debilitator, but aside from that, I wouldn't recommend the supersonics. God, what are the other ones? Acrobatics even, and there's so many others. They're just not worth your money at all. I can probably pull up the thing right now and see all of them and just instantly give you my opinion on every single one of them. Where are they in the tutorial section?
Okay, so I guess in the end, this is coming from me, so this is my interpretation of the whole thing.
Oh my god, Thunderwaves
Fucking,
are so expensive.
The drama itself, it has the potential of being messy, but frankly, there is absolutely no reason for you to be actually worried about that sort of thing.
No.
Even the worst case scenarios of the devs stopping or boycotting or whatever, that doesn't affect you on the server, because even if your ongoing roleplay is somehow influenced, there's so many things you can do. There's absolutely no boundaries in terms of imagination unless you are just, you know, making problems for yourself or trying to find problems for yourself. So, you know, this is drama for the sake of drama. At least it looks like I'm pretty sure it can be fixed if both sides finally kind of figure out that.
And even if you are at a stalemate, like, I'm a leader of a faction that is literally supposed to oppose an entire house, and we're very much frowned upon because we're like a hybrid of two things that people dislike, and that's like an unlawful faction with all the aspects of a small unlawful faction. And we have the power and force and are approaching that of one of the larger unlawful factions, like a Hispanic faction, literally a Hispanic faction. And like obviously conquest is a big part of it, but even if there's like a halt in development, there's still a billion things I can think of doing that don't involve like going to the devs back and forth. So this drama, like this,
Nerva, your passwords are encrypted from the owner of the server. The server owner himself cannot read the passwords because they're encrypted. That's one of the things that, you know, the actual platform does. So basically, if an admin can, the only thing that an admin can do is reset or change your password. An admin, even a super admin, as long as you are not hosting on their private server, as in, Okay, so we are getting our host from a actual company, and they would never allow us to see user data in terms of security. Because that's how it works.
Some people were sketchy about that. I remember waking up and some people in chats were like, if that's compromised, I'm out. Like, bottom line.
Well, considering the stupidity of...
And they're right. Like, they're right to be, like, hesitant in that sense. Like, you know, if, like, my stuff was compromised, I'd probably bail as well.
Well, no shit. That's why you use different... See, that's the thing. The people who are afraid of this probably don't practice safe internet usage anyway. I mean, I have a code calculator for my sites ever since I accidentally paid a Chinese guy €5,000 in terms of university thing. Like, it's a meme. Like, most people know about this. I just woke up at 4 a.m. in one morning. My fucking phone was going like, oh, thank you for activating one-touch checkout for PayPal. Thank you for sending €500. So, like, what? Yeah, ever since that time, I'm just using different passwords for different sites. But yeah, guys, even if your password, like MyBB as a forum hosting, they don't offer anyone, like the owner of the forum, a chance to actually see your email, password. They can see your email because, you know, that's how you're contacted. But your password is encrypted. There's no direct way to view your password. There's only a chance to either completely remove it or to, you know, change it for you if you forget it. GDPR, that whole topic is just fucking stupid because it's the same thing about, oh, Microsoft is going to come us and like shut us down because we are, you know, using their game.
It was a case of if, Justin. I know you're not going to. It was just a case of if. I was a hypothetical scenario, just coming from the perspective of the people who would be worried about that, Justin, are the people that like lead factions that commonly go to you. And even then, I'm trying to say, like, coming from the perspective of somebody who does commonly go to you, you could still do a lot of stuff even if it was halted, but obviously it's not. Nothing's going to be halted. Stuff is still going on.
Anyway, I already went in detail about the whole problem between the two teams, and I really don't see the notion of having both of them doing the same thing is, you know, a very good thing, but I'm just sorry, that's not how, for many reasons that I actually mentioned, that's not how it's going to happen. And neither side is going to admit that. That's the problem.
I think it's not even just one way. Like, you need people who are cool to holster the server, like you said earlier, otherwise the server goes kaput. But on other cases, like, you can't have, not everybody in the admin team is also knowledgeable enough to be a developer in certain, like, cases. Like,
yeah, we're specialized in our own way.
Talent, art, you know, yeah. They're both specialized in their own way.
Yeah, but only one of them has the access to the big red button. That's kind of the problem. Again, that's the biggest. Like, it's not about people not, you know, not being allowed to serve, like, because, oh, they're going to allow their friends to do this, or they're going to be more lenient towards... No, that's why you have an admin team, because anyone can just call you out on your fucking bullshit, right? But the problem is, again, in the end, the reason why the admin team is always so paranoid is because giving access to the wrong player can just destroy
between life and death for the server.
Yeah, for the server. Because, again, the biggest problem is always going to be the anti-cheat and how it works and how to circumvent it. Every single admin on the server knows how to circumvent the anti-cheat. And the ban system, and everything else. That's just the standard thing you'd learn.
A lot of the players know how to do that as well.
Yes, and, well, you know.
The anti-cheat is a very...
I mean, it only takes one disgruntled admin team member to just take down the whole community with this, because the amount of time you would need to make a replacement for this sort of shit is time-consuming. And we just do not have the sort of players around for that to do. We would have to hire some sort of professional service to, you know, do this sort of thing for us, and, you know, that's just not going to happen on a donations-driven community. Anyway, okay. Personal question: what games do you play nowadays? I currently play PlanetSide 2. I'm a part of the Emerald US East server. I've been playing since April, and I fucking love it.
East Coast overdose.
Well, I mean, I get normal ping on East Coast. But if you'd like to see what it's about, I do have my second YouTube channel where I upload that bullshit because people were starting to complain. It's like, this is Discovery Freelancer syndrome. I was like, why are you uploading all this PlanetSide bullshit? Like, you know, like 27 uploads later, it's like, okay, fine, I'll move it to a different channel.
I haven't been posting up as much content recently because most of the content I post up is basically, it is what it is. It's PvP, and I think that people kind of get like like, I don't want to say demoralized, but like angry at me, or they feel bad if they see themselves just getting destroyed on my YouTube channel.
No, that's normal. Like I never did that, and people still liked it. So here's the thing. I'm actually going to do some Freelancer-related videos as soon as I figure out how to do the 2019 Let's Play, because I do have an idea for it with a certain twist. It's just that I kind of want to do this after the whole, you know, drama thing is over. Because, again, one of the reasons of the existence of this channel you're currently watching is the promotion of our community and the promotion of Discovery Freelancer. I can't have Disco be on fire as I try to advertise it. I need you guys to fucking buckle down so I can do content. I haven't even updated the ModDB yet, even though I promised that I would be doing it, just because currently Disco is in such a shit show that I can't just risk people walking in as like going, what the fuck is this?
I think the bottom line he's getting at is like, don't freak out, chill. The drama is pretty much, it literally has already resolved pretty much to, like, all of the big part of it is over now. You just saw Justin say right there above Spazzy's comment that the development's still going as it is, the admin team's still functioning, everything's going, so just play. Don't, like, see, like, I guess we kind of are, like, continuing it a bit by talking about it, but it is over. Like, that's the reassuring thing.
Alright, guys. I think that kind of covers it for now. If you'd like to see more topical shows like this, or just want to see a live stream with more people and just talking about random topics that you post in the chat, you know, give it a thumbs up.
Also, if you want to, I was considering doing some streams about certain aspects of the games, like PvP and whatnot, that I'm good at. If you want to hear me, my annoying Bostonian voice, talk about this in streams, ping me on Discord or anything, and I will go ahead and talk about it, because I do think that there needs to be like a new tutor for PvP. So there's not much of that anymore. But anyways, yeah, that's that. You have the mic again, Spazzy.
Say what?
It is worth getting into PvP, I promise. I've seen a lot of people that are bad recently. There were 2 people that were struggling, and they've started to get a lot better. And it does kind of like build your confidence level when you're just flying a fighter or anything else in game. Like, it encourages your confidence level to go talk with people, even if it's not your getup to go fight them all the time. So it's worth getting into. It doesn't take as much of a dramatic investment as people like to think if you just get the gist of it. I understand the game's currently, like, you know, it's always changing. The mechanics are changing, but there are certain mechanics of the game that will just never change. They're the core of like what makes this mod in terms of PvP, and they will never change. So if you get those down and you stick with it, it's good.
All right, guys. Again, thanks for joining. This is Spazzy Dragon, aka Syndromes, and this was Wesker as well. If you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, give us a shout. And for now, we're going to peter out.
Bye-bye.